you can see the bottom in the broadwater in certain areas. That's when the squid are going to be here and start rocking up. I don't know how they turn up. I think they come through the seaway probably at night time in mega schools. I'm talking like tens and tens of thousands of them. And I don't know if you noticed, but squid's the biggest biomass of any animal and item, a live animal on Earth in weight. So there are lots of squid. Their lifespan is very short. I think it's about 12 months, 18 months from go to woe. And they're just very plentiful. And if you saw, like, we worry about stressing about maybe taking a few thousand out of the broadwater in a season, but when those squid boats do that in about an hour, okay? So irrelevant. But they just keep coming back every year. So it's great to see. And no matter how much pressure's been on them, every year it's a great year for squid at the moment. So it's good for us. I've never seen so many arrow squid, as I said, but up till a few years ago, I didn't know that existed. And it was only Clint off Gold Coast River Charters, if you know Clint, the banana boat sort of thing. He does a lot of drifting down the main channel with like vibes, and quite a few years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, all of a sudden he started catching them, and he's always vibed in the channels, but all of a sudden they just rocked up, and he started getting arrow squid, and then we all switched to squid jigs as he did, and everyone started catching them. Whereas the tiger squid, or the calamari squid, they were quite plentiful around anyone on the foreshore. So how many people here don't have a boat? Okay, good. So you guys, I'll talk about this as of now. So they were quite plentiful off the shoreline. So around the Grand Hotel is a great spot at night time. High tide, preferably around about 7 to 10 o'clock when people have mellowed out a bit and disappeared and things are quiet. So squid like clean water, not too much tide, they're lazy, and they're like eddies if there's a bit of current, and not too much noise, a little bit like that. So shore base, yeah, great off the Grand Hotel boat ramp, and anywhere on the foreshore way down to Aqua Buildings, quite good squidding on there at night time. Seaway Wall, we used to get onto Seaway Wall when I was 30 years ago. It was first built in the late 80s, and we'd go squidding from the Seaway Tower all the way around to where the rocks end facing towards the Grand, looking back west. Great spot for squid off there at night time as well, and daytime. If you get high tide in the mornings, cold as, but this is the time of the year. Actually, June, July was the best. Around that sort of high tide around 6 or 7 in the morning, and the last hour of the run in just after daylight, first hour of the run out, or 2 hours once it started running out a bit. Normally the water gets a bit dirtier, they go a bit quiet, they disappear somewhere. But great squidding up there, and still is as well. If you're from the boat, it's obviously reverse way. But and other areas that we used to squid was around the Gold Coast Bridge, around the lights at the old Gold Coast Bridge. There's only 2 bridges back those days, and we used to get a few underneath the bridge there as well. So if you ever, what we talk about tonight too, no matter where you are in Australia, the technique works everywhere, right? I was just over in Montebello Islands a couple of weeks ago in WA, and I was catching off the rocks off the shoreline there everywhere. So we're just using the same techniques as tonight we'll talk about. So it doesn't matter where you are, squidding is squidding. Up at Airlie Beach, same deal, he's up there as well. So anyhow, the calamari squid, get back to them, they all of a sudden they become more plentiful in Moreton Bay, like they're really good up there, and become a bit quieter down here. So how many people from Brisbane? Anyone from Brisbane at all? Quite a few of you, yeah. So you guys got lucky for the calamari squid. So, and for you guys from the Gold Coast, it's worth the drive up one day up to probably Redland Bay or Cleveland or wherever, and zoom out to, I go from the Runaway Bay up, actually a bit of a drive, but good fun. And anywhere from Maura, from the Peel, and then heading over towards Moreton Way a bit. And you can get 20 or 30 in a session, or more, all big ones. Preferably again, get that high tide about 8 or 9 in the morning. Fish the high tide, fish the run out, just don't fish green zones. Okay, yeah. So we'll talk about that a bit later as well. But so that's how the squids seem to have been going the last few years. More arrow, less calamari. Brisbane, more arrow, not many. More calamari, not many arrow. Does any of you guys from Brisbane catch arrow squid up there at all? No, it's weird, eh? The Gold Coast. And the weird part is the calamari squid love structure. So at night time, it's got to be lights, bridges, jetties, rock walls, and lights preferably. And then daytime, they still like structure. They don't like just sitting out so much in the middle of the channel, but they will hang around weed patches and stuff like that. And preferably weed patches where you've got quite a big sandbank, and in the middle might be a drain that goes down through the banks. It might be 2 metres deep, and there might be little alcoves that come off that channel, and there's no current in that area. That's where they'll sit. If you've got weed in that area, that's where they'll definitely sit. So try and find them where there's a back eddy, so that's going down the channel, current's going between the two sandbanks, and when it hits that point, it'll actually like eddy, and that's where they'll be. So just remember that. You can't miss. Okay. But otherwise weed. But where the arrow squid, they hate structure. You will get them off occasionally off jetties and rocks, but not much. They're at the middle of the channel, and it doesn't have to be weed there. They just love sitting in the deepest part of the channel or the edge of the channel. Does that all make sense? Good. Okay. What do we use? My combo's kind of stewy, so I won't talk about the rods and reels yet. But squid jig size. Look, you've got to have a few different sizes on the boat or on yourself. So I normally keep a 1 size 2, or maybe 2, but generally 1 size 2 squid jig. 2.5 is the go-to on the Gold Coast and Brisbane, I believe. For casting, 3 maybe if they're big squid. And then when I'm drifting out of the boat, which I'll teach you a bit later, I run a 3 or 3.5, okay, which just sit in the rod holder, and they're quite heavy. They need to be heavy so they don't get lifted up off the bottom too much. And then in that array of sizes, there's different types of squid jigs. So you've got fast sink and slow sink. You need to know which one is suitable for the right application. 90% of the squid jigs come with the same size weight, which is 10 grams, normally on 2.5. So if it's windy and there's a lot of current, wind against current, whatever it may be, you'll need to alter your squid jig to a slightly heavier one to be able to compensate. If there's no wind and no current, it's high tide, and you think squid jig's sinking too fast, you need to either trim a bit of weight off the bottom of your squid jig, use it for lighter for next time, or you need to go to a lighter squid jig that's already got the smaller weight on it. So the little specific things that you need to take notice of, because sometimes this throwing squid jig doesn't always work that well. But if you switch, you get a lot of squid. Okay. How many people here go at night time? Do you think it's chasing squid from the boat? So if you're going to go at night time, I've got to downstairs and bring one up, but definitely have a light hanging at the back of the boat, and it attracts bait, and then that attracts squid. And the best thing to do is try and find a spot where there's hardly any current, there's weed, it's 2 metres deep at least, and you can get the bait happening around you, and the squid just sort of start to show up all of a sudden within about an hour or 40 minutes of sitting in that one spot. It's got to hang out till it happens. Anchored, yeah. You can drift, but they've got to catch up with you, if that makes sense. They tend to like it anchored, or if you got a, I throw the anchor out, I don't use my electric. I think it stirs them up a bit, they don't like it. So just anchor, stealth mode, yeah.
Any light, like green or blue?
Yeah, good question too. Look, I only had a green light there for ages and it worked fine, but now I've got blue light. Blue light's better, I think, yeah. But they both seem to work, green and blue both work. And you'll see them, they're really weird. They'll swim around in circles. So they'll come around the back of the boat, you'll see them in the light, and there'll be 1 or 2, and then about 15 minutes there'll be like 6, then there'll be like 10, and that's how they just seem to rock up, and they all swim together like mates.
So I find they sit just outside of the light.
Yeah, they will if you've got a little bit of current. So always cast your squid jig beyond the black, correct?
There's got to be baitfish there for them to show up.
No, just the light. Yeah. But you'll get baitfish there. Yeah. These weird things like little worms and stuff like that. All these little weird things start rocking up. Stuff you don't see during the daytime. Yeah. So lights are a great thing at night if you can do nighttime. If you do nighttime without a light, look, I did one time at Wave Break Island. I'm I always spill the beans, so I don't care. You guys go and catch them. You catch them. If I'm lucky enough to get some between you, that's good. But one of my best squid sessions ever, and it was only probably about 4 years ago, was on calamari squid. They come in. Sometimes they come in big schools as well. When they come in, everyone catches them around the joint. And if they don't come in, then that season we have a bad big calamari season, squid season. But this particular year, I like going at the full moon, and I try and get it when there's not too much wind, maybe 5 or 10 knots max. And this time I was over at Wave Break, and if you all know the north wall of Wave Break, I was inside the north wall on the beach side of Wave Break, so on the east side, on that corner. And it was really light because it was super moonlight. And I threw out a squid jig, and my objective was that night was to fish with a float, because I got a lot of Victorians. Any Victorians here? Maybe a couple. Don't be shy. But you guys use floats a lot for squidding as well, out of the boats, particular. And I wanted to try that system, and I threw out a float, just a bobber float, like this sort of size, and it was I think it was about probably a metre above my squid jig, not too far above it. And I just threw it out there, and then I threw my squid jig out. Before I even hit the water, my rod's bouncing around. I don't know what it was. Put that one down, I wound it in, or started one in, it was a squid. And then my other rod was going, and it was non-stop. At the end, I could have used one rod. But the float worked really, really well. Okay, so it pulls the squid jig around, because there's a bit of wave there, right? Just a little swell rolling through. That was the night, if you saw the picture of the back of my boat, saw squidding. I got 28 squid that night, and I stopped because it was stupid. Could have got 50, I think. And they're all big ones too. The fists, heads the size of your fists, you know? And so if you get the good luck on a session, they're just in big numbers. And same with the arrow squids. Stu and I have been out on the arrows 2 years ago, and I think we got, it was 28 or 32, I can't remember, around 30, within an hour. And the excavator's forming them, that's enough. So when they're on, they're on. So you just got to find them. But anyhow, getting back how to do it. So we've got 2s, 1.8s, 2s, 2.5s, 3s, and 3.5. So the 3s and 3.5s are strictly for me, they're just sit in the rod holder and don't do anything bar drag along the bottom when I'm drifting during the day. If I've got a little bit of windage, I will actually even put about a 2-ounce snapper lead on the bottom and run it as a paternoster. I think you guys have got a little 3-way swivel in your bag. So run that around about 1/2 metre up above the sinker, or a metre above the sinker, and only short about 300 milliliter, and use 10 pound, and tie your squid jig on, and run the snapper lead on the bottom. So it's better than putting a squid jig on the bottom. The squid jig gets caught in a lot of weed, on the end of it, and they sort of know that's not right, if that makes sense. I don't know how they can see the difference in that and the steel thing, but they do. And but I have caught a lot of squid with still weed on my hooks, where when they're hungry, I guess, where they've smashed the squid jig at the end, and when I pulled the squid up, there's a big clump of weed on there as well where it's been dragging. So yeah, but if you use the sink on the bottom, you get none of that. It eliminates that. So in that case, sink on the bottom, metre up to your 3-way swivel, and then just tie about 25 centimetres and tie a squid jig to it. Has anyone done that yet at all? No? Missing out. Okay. And then the other way, which we have here, you guys have got one in your bag. I don't have one in front of me, but there's a heavy little squid jig and a light squid jig. And it's about a metre above it, or a bit over. The heavy one drags on the bottom. I've caught 2 squid at a time many a time, okay? So you've got the light one, the little size 2s, and you'll see them in the bag, there are two in there. And so that one there, you run the little one, you just cast out on the right or left corner of the boat. Don't throw it far, so if you're in, say, 3 metres deep, cast it about 5 metres. Don't cast it far. You don't drag it way out the back. And just have it sit in the rod holder. I've even had times where I've just dropped it to the bottom and just wound up half a turn, so it's on the bottom, off the bottom of the boat, and the waves going past, the boat's going past, and still caught squid that close to the boat as well. Okay. If you're land-based, I wouldn't use it unless you want to get distance. Okay, and you could try it. If like the place you catch arrow squid here, land-based, there's not many because they're out in the middle of the channel, would be probably at off the pontoon at the Grand Hotel boat ramp, and you need to try and get a cast that's at least 30 metres out, and that would work out there. Okay. The other place that would work would be I catch them pretty close to the jetty at the Southport Pier from my boat, and I would be 25 to 30 metres on my closest run, so I don't want to piss the people off on the jetty, but I'm pretty close to it. And yeah, you'd reach that as well in that situation. Okay, so if you're land-based. If you boat though, you just do the reverse. So that's that style. Look, how many people have just dragged squid jigs along while they're casting and done really well at it? No? Yeah. How'd you go, Perry?
Pretty good. Those Sapphire.
Yep. The flash glow ones?
Just the size 3, just
Yep.
the standard Sapphire.
Yeah, 3's good size, yeah.
I use like the slimy mackerel colour used to be my favourite.
Oh, yeah, they don't do it anymore.
Used to just use
Yeah, it's a good one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fishing tackle, guys, and it's not due to us, I can assure you, but whatever's good, whether it be reel, line, lure, rod, doesn't matter, they discontinue it for some reason and replace it with something that's not very good. Ian, how'd you go, mate?
Yeah, good one.
Yeah, good? Yeah.
I think I asked you too.
Yeah.
Mono or braid?
I use braid all the time. Yeah.
We found like up the reef
Yep.
at night
Oh,
on the anchor
okay.
boat,
Yep.
mono.
Mono, yeah.
Put braid on, it just scares the crap out of
Is that right, eh?
Like braid.
Okay. Yeah, right. There you go. Give it a go. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, we just found
Yeah.
it with about
Yep.
6-8 pound mono.
Yep.
Worked well, you put braid on.
Yeah.
Something about it.
Okay. Yeah, right. I only use braid, but he's usually going to use.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, that's interesting. But definitely when you're drifting, if you're drifting during the day for squid, and the arrow squid in particular, not so much the calamari squid. I don't know if that system works. I've tried it, but never lucked out yet. I'm getting one on the just drifting, but arrow squid, for me a lot of times it's one-on-one. I'm catching one on the casting and one on just the drag on the bottom, or just off the bottom. One thing I learned about when you're out of the boat too and you're casting your line is that I always cast normally down current with the current, and then sort of bring it back with the current, but the boat's actually drifting towards it. So my jig's actually not doing much and not moving much. Does that make sense? Because it's going nowhere, but I'm catching up one the slack line in. My wife always casts the way we've just come from, so her squid jig never ever gets to the bottom very well, especially if there's a bit of wind blowing. But she outdoes me. I promise you, she outdoes me every time. And now, that was like 3 years ago that started happening. So now I cast the opposite direction of what I normally cast, which is actually the way I've just been, and I catch a heap of squid. And I think it's because your squid jig is rarely at the bottom, but it's close to the bottom, and you tend to you're in the zone better, and it's more natural. I think it's always moving with the current and the wind, whatever. And when you think about it, the ones you're drifting with out of your rod holders, so you cast them out not very far, maybe, like I said, 5 metres, whatever, in 3 metres deep or 2 metres deep. And they're continuously either just, because they've got current wind, they're on the bottom, off the bottom. So they tend to work really well as well in that technique. Where if you cast up in front of the boat and you're drifting down to it and they're just sitting there, you never get squid. So always cast it the way you've just come from. Does that make sense? Yeah. I wouldn't spot lock, I just cast. And the time I spot lock is I'm in Moreton Bay, so, and I'm in one of those eddies, and I want to stay there, I'll spot lock and use a spot lock on the motor, or anchor. So sometimes we anchor up, we've done a few trips where we've gone into, but if everyone knows where Dunwich is on North Stradey, that's probably the closest sort of good area, and Myora, which is just behind Dunwich, Anchorage there, in close to Myora there's heaps of squid in there as well. And into the Dunwich, in the harbour at Dunwich is really good too. And in that area, we'll anchor up in the eddies and catch them wherever that may be.
Have you ever tried slow trolling for arrows?
Yeah, done really well, real well. Yeah. So and calamari as well. So does anyone troll for squid other than Perry? Yeah. How'd you go?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I do I got a fancy motor, so I can slow the speed right down.
Yep.
Seem to catch heaps.
Yeah, you do, yeah. How'd you go, mate?
Oh, got a few.
Yep.
I haven't done a lot
Yep.
of it, but sort of get 3 or 4
Yep.
for a short session.
Yeah, okay.
The tigers.
Yeah, tigers, yeah. So up in the bay? Or, yeah, the
Sort of
bay.
around green.
Yeah, okay, around green, yeah. So if you ever do get up to that way, so Green Island on the northwestern corner, I think? Yes.
Sort of western.
Yeah, western side, yeah, yep. So western side's really good on green for big calamari squid if you ever get a chance. Probably it's a bit of a hike though. You probably put it in when you go. Same as we go prawning, we put it in on the other side of the airport there at something beach. I can't remember. Nudgee Beach. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank you. And go straight out from there. Probably closest, or Pinkenbar maybe. Yeah, Pinkenbar will be closer. Yeah. So it's worth a drive. Like this time of the year is when you catch them, right? So if you want to go and get a good feed of calamari squid, the bigger ones, try and, as I said, try and time it so 8 o'clock high tide, 9 o'clock high tide. Drive up to Brizzy. The thing is, this time of year you've got snap and everything else happening, right? So, and flatties or whatever it may be. So you've got to decide, okay, I'm just going to do that and focus on that. If you try and do squidding and try and catch some snapper in the bay and that sort of stuff, it ain't going to work in numbers. You might get a couple, but you won't get lots. You focus on one thing and stick to it.
On 10 day trying to snap was off the board anyhow.
Oh, that's true too. There you go, squidding. There you go, that's a good excuse. Exactly. So, yeah, so that's the go up in Moreton Bay. But down this way, it's arrow squid, concentrate on arrow squid. Okay. So technique, what's Stewie use? Where are you, Stewie? Misaka, can you find where Stewie is, please? Just talking to the screen there, guys. Need those 2 rods. But, so here's my scenario. Like I was going to go today. I was trying to get the shop here today about 1 o'clock. I just want to show you guys how ones in your bay, how good they work. And the problem was that we're too busy. I couldn't get out of here, and the wind's sort of still blowing a little bit, right? But tomorrow looks pretty good. But this weekend's perfect. You get like 5 to 10 knots the whole weekend, so it's perfect squid weather. The only bad part is you got high tide getting later in the day. Really good in the afternoon squid session, but not good for the morning. Okay, it needs to be clean. So you're going to if you go out in the morning, you're going to be getting the last to run out, first to run in. So it's still not too bad. You'll get squid, but you won't get them like you would if it's high tide at 8 or 9 in the morning. Does that make sense? So if you're going to go this weekend, it'll be an afternoon session. And we've had some great afternoon sessions. I won't talk about techniques to get those rods, like I was saying. But where do you go? Look, there's about 5 really good spots in the Broadwater, okay? I'll just quickly draw it on the board here, just to give you a rough idea. Okay, this is Sovereign Island, sort of thing. Effort Island. And shorelines like so. Rono Bay Marinas in here. We'll go along Shearwater, Runaway Bay, Bayview Harbour, and then Labrador, Lotus Creek here, and that's Southport up here, sort of thing. So down here, this is the big sandbar sort of thing that goes down to Crab Island, sort of here and here, and this is Stratty over here, sort of thing. A bit further, probably about there. Bayview. Stewie, mate. Oh, I need the rods actually, mate.
Yeah,
they're there. Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry, Stuart. Yeah, I feel bad. Okay, so if I was going to go out on that tide in the afternoon this weekend, there's probably 3 places I'd really hound. And the first place is going to be over here. This is Kurrajee Inlet about here, okay? So sorry for the folks out in Brisbane, but I was going to quickly show the Gold Coast. You guys can come down here though and do our grounds if you want. But that's little crab, big crabs. You all know what that is at Runaway Bay? Runaway Bay Marinas over here. Little crab, big crab. And Stewie's fished with me in the same area. So we tend to fish in that bank, sort of, that big sandbank here. is like this sort of thing, but the channels in between it sort of thing. And there's a red beacon here, and a red buoy here, another red buoy over here, and there's a green. You probably can't see it down the back, but hopefully you can. There's a green here. There's 3 in a row there. And the channel sort of goes around like that, okay? And if you squid anywhere along this area, actually there's always a couple of boats moored here, okay? And from those boats all the way from the greens to about here. Has anyone tried there at all yet? A couple times?
Yeah, if those boats aren't anchored there, like most of the time, as Dougie said, they are, but it's about the first jetty. Yeah.
There's a jetty there at
I think
Karachi.
it's a long
I
white
know
one,
where
yeah.
the first green marker is.
Yeah, that's a good area too.
Drift all the way back.
Yeah. So it's a long drift. You're talking like about a K
Oh, that from
or 800 metres. There. Okay, the other area, Rono Bay Marina's over here. That's not really just perspective, but let's just say it is. There's a green here. Oh, it's not green. Black. Sorry. There's a green here at Rono Bay Marina. There's another one here in front of the marina that's actually got Port Merion out the front. It's like this sort of thing, like that. And then there's the entrance into the marina. There's another green here as well. And there's a red around here somewhere. But anyhow, we drift on that green from here all the way down to the entrance to Rono Bay Shopping Centre, that western foreshore. And there's yellow beacons that are dotted all the way down here, and you just drift on the western side of the yellows. Okay, and that's actually one of my real good areas to fish. Both those are. So that's your northern area. Okay, if you're from jumping pin area, look, I've caught them at jumping pin, but nothing like down we did in the Broadwater. And you'll get probably more calamari squid at jumping pin, especially in those bays. You know where the basins are at the top of South Stratty. Is there going to be a squid in there at all yet?
Yeah.
It's very good.
Joe
Big
got
squid.
a couple there last year.
Did he?
Ones.
Yeah, big ones. Yeah, real big ones. That's right. Yeah, right.
He was chasing
Yeah, you'll
flathead.
see them
Chasing
coming up.
flathead.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're gutsy. But so try the basins up at the top of South Stratty. Then the next area to go, this is again not really in perspective. It's terrible actually.
Is there weed beds on those two rooms there?
Look, there's not much, no. There's not much weed. There's
It's
a little, it's like sand and then a little patch of weed, maybe the size of this table, you know? And then sand, a little bit
Yeah,
of
it's
weed.
like rubbly type, broken bottom. Yeah.
Shelly bottom
Yeah.
is probably the word for it, more than weedy. As I said, they just sit in the middle of the channel, in the deep part of the channel. That's why a lot of people don't catch squid, because they go looking for big weed beds, arrow squid I'm talking about. They go look for big weed beds and they try and catch arrow squid and shallow weed beds. Doesn't work. Okay? It's got to be deep, the deepest part of the channel. So here, I'm in about 6 to 7 metres deep. So around 18 to 25 feet, 24 feet deep. And over this side, I'm in about, it's only about probably 5 metres at the deepest, but on average about 4.5 over this side. So the seaway has changed now. It's moved. So it's now just here. So that's wave break is actually right here too. Probably around, I don't know, around here somewhere. Just roughly. So there are 1 million boats moored at the back of wave break in front of Bayview Harbour area, between Bayview Harbour and wave break. And there's boats over, this is like the park here, actually that's right there. The bigger creek's actually about here somewhere. Sorry, I'm trying to get this right, guys. Bayview's about here. and then the wall comes around and bigger creeks there, the bridge, and there's this little park thing there, and there's quite a few boats. There's a cat moored about here, a few other boats, and you come down to a green buoy and a red marker very close to the shoreline over here. Do you want to know where that is? Yeah, good. So the go here is, and there's boats actually over here as well, through that area as well. But at the back of wave break here, on this side here, you'll get them drifting through this whole area and along up to here and down to the entrance to, wherever it is, into Baby Harbour here. And there's a big bank that sits, sandbank that sits about here, sort of thing. Goes like that. Does that all make sense? So that's where Tiger and a few other guys have been smashing it recently, right there. I just went with my wife there for an hour week before last, and we got, that was the last time I was out, we got 9 in an hour or something, 9 or 10, I can't remember. And we dropped a couple, but when they're on there, Stu and I got 28 that day or 30 something.
Yeah, before work. Yeah,
Like in an hour.
Yeah.
So that's, and we got most of those right in front of Baby Harbour Wall there, just in the middle. So you just sort of move up and down. They move up and down as well, I think. So you just got to follow them and try and find where they are in that stretch. Okay, does that all make sense?
Do you find that they sometimes sit underneath the boat but down deep?
The ones that are on the, just hanging out of the rod holders, I catch a lot that way. Yeah.
I was going to say, when I'm casting, I'll cast sometimes.
Oh, they'll hit it.
I'll sit underneath,
yeah.
like underneath the
Yeah.
boat anchored.
Yeah, right, okay,
and I'll
right.
sit
Yeah.
down underneath the boat.
Yeah. Well, that's because we do a lot of, when I'm casting, drifting through those boats, I try not to hit the boat, so they're not very friendly people there sometimes. But I try and cast as close to the boat as I can. Yeah, because it's the same deal.
Yeah.
And on the sink, they'll also pull on the sink.
The
Yeah.
other ones will chase the one that you've got too.
Yeah, so that's the other thing too, and a good point actually, Perry, is when you are squidding, wear polarised glasses, and if you see another one following it, straight away get your mate to throw his jig there, you'll catch it every time. And if you've got two, the big ones, the big calamaris are generally in at least twos, and rarely on their own. So same deal, if you get one on and it's pulling, I'd definitely get your mate to throw right near where you are, where you just hooked it, and you'll probably get the second one.
Do you try and leave one in the water?
No, they fall off. They fall off. Remember, there's no barbs on the jigs, and as soon as it gets a bit of slack, they'll fall off. Yeah, particularly the big ones, the big calamaris. Yeah, but the light at night time that becomes your attractant. But during the day, no, just cast next to your mate, maybe. Try and get a bigger squid than him or something. Try that Stewie all the time. I'm just going to go over this side now. So, sorry, Stu, I'm back to you, mate. So the other spot that's really, really good, there's a jetty here. Does anyone not know this jetty in there? Does anyone know that jetty in there? Yeah, in Buns Bay. So we have a lot of Asian customers that go squidding there, particularly at night, and they smash it. They'll get 20 in session off the jetty.
Yeah.
And arrows, and like that's the only real the other spot that you get arrows, and you probably get the most there on that jetty at night time. Also get hairtail there too, by the way, at night time. But the channel comes down around this corner here and runs all the way down until we get to the marinas. So that's like the 3 marinas at Southport there. And then you got Southport Marina, and then it goes around to the bridge over here, right? So we squid, where the channel goes around to Lotus Creek, actually Lotus Creek's here, where the channel goes around Lotus Creek, from that turn off up to pretty well the Southport Marina, Southport Yacht Club. So it's like a 3 or 4K stretch. And they're in the middle of the channel, sometimes on the edge, but generally in the middle, and you'll get them all the way along there. So it's quite a big area. And that's why I'm not worried about telling you guys, because there's enough room for everyone, plus more. So And there will be patches where you'll get more squid than you will on your drift. So you'll be drifting along, then all of a sudden you may get one, you'll get one, the back one will go off as well. And quickly try and see what beacon you might be near and try and remember where it is and what distance out in the channel you were. And then next drift, once you get to about here, if you don't get any more, go back around and do the same drift again, and you'll probably get them again. But then if you don't get them after that, it's not because you probably cleaned them out, it's more that they've moved a bit. So they might have moved over to here. So it's on the edge, right on the edge of where it goes from sort of 2 meters down to about 8. They'll be on that edge. So then do your next drift over here. Does that make sense? So that area is really, really good. The other area that's really, really good, that's Lotus Cricket, I don't know what that is, but close it. Yeah, so that's a really good question. Mate, I've been there and my boat's like this and like a 50-foot rift has gone past where it opens up down here from 6 knots and it's just still smacking them. Doesn't matter. No. It's because it's quite deep there. It's like 8 meters deep, so they don't seem to care. They're down deep. You don't get many up higher there. It's one of the only spots I fish my wife. Mm-hmm. It's there because she's on her squid jig's up too high. Yeah. Now I've caught them. So do you all know where the jetty is at Southport, which is probably around about here somewhere? The jetty at Southport's like here, at the end of Narang Street. So that pier there, if you're land based, I'd be casting as far out here on that angle as you can, which is like casting towards SeaWorld, say. So if you're land based, that's the spot to go. And for arrow squid, because I'll start my drift. I get a lot of squid drifting this area here, and down here depends if I've got a bit of westerly in the wind. All this area here is really, really, really good spot. Is anyone squid there at all yet? Yeah. I only see maybe 1 or 2 boats there because you're sort of out of the way in amongst a few boats more there. So it's a bit of a secret hush hush. But as I said, I don't care. I want you guys to catch squid. That's what it's all about. So that's the area. The other area, as I said, drifting all the way down here. But there's a couple of yellow beacons across from, I think it's, probably Mirage is about right. Mirage and maybe down to Mariners Cove. They're sort of on the western side of the channel, the yellow ones, and your main channel beacons are here sort of thing. But those yellow ones, and that pool thing that's there, like the swimming enclosure thing? So out in front of that, I've caught them in front of here as well, but I've definitely caught them around these yellows and up to, I think there's a green here and a red here where the trawlers come into the area. They come through, then turn left to go down to the trawler bay. From that pool enclosure to that green, another really good area, and up to the yellows. And again, high tide first to run out. And that's probably about it for arrow squid. Okay, but there's a lot of grounds there, guys. You've got all that there to play with, you know. There's a lot of area there because you've got from east to west and it's all the way through, except where the sand is. It's got to be at least 3 or 4 meters deep to 8 meters deep. Down here, in front of Courageous Campground, down to the jetty, like Stu was saying, you've got a fairly long run down there. You can have 20 boats there and it's still enough room. And as Perry was saying, near those greens is really good. And over this side here, anywhere from in front of the Runaway Bay Marina up to entrance to Shearwater and up to the entrance to Runaway Bay Shopping Centre.
Have you tried it in between, like big crab, where there's that?
Yeah, no, I have.
crab?
I've never caught them through there yet. No. I think it's only 2 meters deep, so it's not really deep enough. Yeah, you might get. Oh, I've caught.
I've caught tigers.
Yeah, I've caught tigers there too. Yeah, catch tigers there. Yeah, yeah.
In between the main big weed bed, and you're on the little crab side. There's that main big weed bed.
Yep.
The sandbank on the other side. You get like tiger squid and stuff chasing out your plastics in that middle part.
Yeah, that's right. And some of my biggest tiger squid I caught in that weed patch right next to that little island there. They come out of that little drain there on the run out tide and they sit in this area. So the tiger squid. Oh, is there any questions on the arrow squid so far? Just to show, before I go to the tiger, to show technique. Stu's got the rods here. Here we go. Thanks, Stu. So we're using only very light rods, so like 2 to 4 kilos. Okay. So just let me teach you something. We have specialised squid rods downstairs, but they're all designed for Japanese and other areas squid. They're not designed for our squid, but they're 8 foot long or 8 foot 6, but they're rated like to P3, which is 50 pounds. They're very heavy. They're like probably about where that's hitting the roof now, this end, that's the tip. They're really heavy rods. There's a couple, I think, that are getting lighter, but they're too heavy. And the reason being is in Japan, in those areas, they're mainly shore-based and they're rock fishing. And they may be fishing 2 or 3 metres up the rocks. So they're casting big squid jigs, like 3s or 3.5s or even 4s. When you get to a squid shop in Japan, you rarely see a 2.5. It's all 3s, 3.5s, 4s, big ones. And they're heavy, and they're casting them out a long, long way to the kelp beds. They're trying to get like a 40 or 80 metre cast. And then when they get the squid on and get it to the shoreline, they've got to lift it up 2 or 3 metres up the rock wall to get to them. So they do have big, long nets though. So the squid jig rod's built for that. It's not built for us. So our best squid jig rod's actually like a whiting stick or a light flatty rod or something like that in this sort of category. Works really well. So 7 foot long, 2 to 4 kilos, perfect. As I said, it's up to you guys whether you want to cast across the current or down current, but I cast up into the current, and then we're drifting away from that. It's always pulling along, right? I'm not going to it. So I cast it out. I leave the bail arm open so I get a bit more length in my cast, otherwise it comes back down towards me a bit. Leave it open and it hits the bottom, and there's no reason, unless you feel one hit on the way down and starts pulling on it, there's no reason to actually start winding straight away fast and twitching it. So take it up easy, and as you feel a bit tight, it's either 1, it's weed, or 2, it's a squid. And most of the time you'll get them at that point on that first wind of the cast, sorry. They'll be on there. If you don't get one in that point there, just slow wind it. I do a couple of little lifts like that and drop it back down again, a bit like flathead fishing. And then just let it sit and I'll drift again. And when I go to lift again, they'll hit it again. They'll be on there maybe. Because when you drop it back down, they just come and grab it and they sit on it. And until you start to pull on it, then they start to pull on it. Does that make sense? So that's how the action sort of is. If I don't get anything by about the 3rd or 4th hop, which is probably about halfway back into the boat, what I'll do is I'll just take the slack up and I'll do a really big fast lift up and then drop it back down. And I get a lot of hits that way as well. It's like aggressive hit, and I've watched Japanese guys do it, and that's how they do it. And halfway in to where you are. Shore base, same scenario. And then by that time, you're probably only about 15 metres out. And if you're slow winding, you should now be able to see them. If you see them following it, there can be different colours. There can be, if it's dark, sort of water or dark scenario, there'll be a dark colour. And if it's very clear and bright and white, they'll be like a clear colour. So you've got to try and see them, right? And try and find your jig first, and then look around your jig as you're slow winding it. And as soon as you see one, just straight away open the bail and let it fall. And straight away they'll grab it. Okay, that's the last technique that you need to learn. And then when you get it on, just slow wind it, but have your drag set quite loose, not too tight, not too loose, just so they can actually pull it off a bit. Because remember, a lot of the time those 2 candles, the long suckers they got, they'll lash them out and they'll grab it, and one might be only on that prong by 1 prong. And if you've got it too tight, they snap off and you wind in and you've got a piece of squid hanging off your prong. You don't want that to happen. You're better off letting them take a little bit of drag and let them take it. And then just slowly get into the boat. If you get that point that it's just hanging there, that's when you've got to use a little net or a bigger net. And if you've got a high-sided boat, sorry, bend over further. You'll get them. Stewie goes, they got to lay on their bellies to get that net. Yeah. But yeah, So, so my rig, this is like 6 pound braid or 8 pound braid. And on the end there, I'm using a thing from 8, 10 or 12 pound leader. I don't use under 8, like you think squid, they're little, they're 300 grams, 400 grams. They are most of the time, but when they fill up water, they can be a kilo, especially the bigger arrows. And they will snap like 6 or 8 or 6 or 7 pound mono leader. So it needs to be a little bit heavier than normal. I've caught a lot of flatties and other stuff on my squid jigs too, not intentionally. But all of a sudden I'll start running all over the joint. I think it's not a squid. I'll tell you a real culprit is sole flounders. And I caught some big ones, like 35 centimetres. They go hard too on a squid jig. And grinners, yes. But they're hard to get out of their mouths because when they bite it, it's very hard to get a squid jig out of their mouth without destroying it. So yeah, but so does that all make sense? Yep. Okay. Is there any add to that? That's a good question. For me, short. For Stewie, long.
I just use about an arm's width. 6 foot.
It's got big arms. Long arms. I use about a metre and a bit, metre and 1.2 maybe. Yeah. No one's asked, do you tie it directly to the squid jig? Do you use a uni knot? Do you use a loop knot? Or do you use a little twisty job? I've done all the above and they all work. But I do like to use a loop knot. I like a bit of action in the squid jig. And I don't mind using the fast attach type system where you just wrap it around I have to bring it up actually, but wrap it around the little bit of wire, and then it's easy. If the jig's not working or it's too light, I quickly take it off and put a heavy one on, change it.
Do you use like, even though it's like just a standard clip swivel without the actual swivel on top? Just the
Yeah, that's like that style. That's the fast attach size system. Yeah, they're fine. They're fine. But keep it small, Barry.
Yeah.
Yeah, size 0 or size 1. Yeah. Thank you, Stu. Okay. So, probably the last thing I want to tell you about that arrow squid is, like some guys do, I had heard of guys do burley bags and that sort of stuff, and if they had anchor in particular. But as I said, I haven't caught many arrow squid at anchor except at night time for light. I wouldn't do it because I think it attracts too many other crap fish like little brim and stuff around. I wouldn't worry about burley at all. Okay, you're better covering more ground drift for arrow squid. A little bit different question for a different technique for calamari squid though. Yeah, so just before I go to calamari, let's go to that map. I think I've pretty well covered all those spots I just told you about.
So do you use side imaging?
No, I don't, and I've never worried about it for squid. I do use I leave my sounder on the whole time. I don't think it really annoys them too much. I like to know what depth I'm in. Or I'll see weed come up on the screen if I can't see the bottom. So it gives me sort of a little bit of reassurance sort of thing. But no, I don't. But Stu, have you tried the scan?
Nah. No, I know a few guys that see them on down scan, like standard stuff. Yeah. They come up like a line, and if they follow the boat, the line's longer. It's like if you're mackerel fishing off something like that offshore. But I mean, yeah, they look for it on that, but I don't think it's a be all or end all. Yeah. It's probably a good thing if you can use side scan or something to find like those little rubbly patches and things like that in the channel to find more ground, but you're not looking for squid as such. Looking for the bottom.
What?
So I wonder if anybody's tried using live scope for them.
That's what Stu just said.
Nah, I haven't yet.
No.
Yeah.
No, just throw your lines out.
It'd be interesting to see how they act with like the squid jig in front of them down deeper.
Yeah, you probably ought to see how it all happens.
Yeah.
But the squid are, I don't know if you know this, arrow squid are very, very aggressive. Like super aggressive. If you put them in a bait tank and they're swimming in the bait tank, drop a squid jig down, you catch them again. They'll go for it. I'm serious.
All they'll eat each other.
Yeah, or they eat each other.
They'll eat your bait that's in there too.
Or they eat your bait that's in there. And if you, someone mentioned about you leave your squid on if you get one. Which I've happened before, where I've got two on rods at the same time. One's just sitting there pulling, like it's been a bit of wind, it's kept the weight on it. And when I get him in, he's got chunks out of him everywhere. But his mates have gone hard. So they're very aggressive. Yeah. And getting back to this map, on the right side here, other spots I'm talking about, you've got Couragey here. I've caught them up along the side of Effron Island too. I didn't mention that, but a bit further up along here, between Effron and Sovereign in that main deep channel there. Look, I haven't tried further up, but I reckon they'll be there. I've always wanted to try, and I've always wanted to try over this side, but just outside of Browns, if that makes sense, in that deep channel on the edge of Stratty there. I reckon they've got to be there too. But I never had to because they've really good on squid. So
I think the other thing is the further you go up, the dirtier the water gets. I don't
True.
like that dirty water.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of, I wouldn't bother going too much past Sovereign.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the other area I've got there is front of Bigara on that map, and then down towards Grand Hotel. And then for the arrow squid on the next map on this side, that's Bigger Creek area. That's the Grand again. Oh, sorry, there's the Grand again, yep. And then all of that seaweed, like I said before, all the way down this area here, over here. That's this area here. Okay, and you sort of see that goes in front of the pool there, where it V's off to the left, and then down to the bridge. I've actually had customers that have caught quite a few. Actually, I haven't tried there yet, but from, I think it's called Rivage Royale, which is the building on the west side of the Gold Coast Bridge. From there all the way up to TSS Boys School to where the top of the Boys School is, just drifting down through there. So as long as the water's fairly clear, they'll be there as well. Yeah. If you are land-based, and I didn't, hopefully old mate's not watching, but if you cast from the shoreline up towards the jetty at TSS, there's a big squid there too. Okay, good shore-based. Or from the boat, same deal. So that's probably about it for the arrow squid, I think. Yep. Now arrow squid, they don't squirt as much ink as the calamari squid do, but they do go for you with the squirting. I'd suggest just having a wet towel with you the whole time, one that's a suicidal towel, that you don't want to go from white to black. Because when it gets on the boat, it's really hard to get ink off once it's gone dry. And no matter what you put on there, it's very hard to get off the deck. Does anyone know how to get something off the deck? That I'm like,
Bleach.
I've got a few. Yeah, I tried that. Doesn't work the best still. It's very hard to get it off. Especially if you've got the deck that's got the little squares on it. It gets in those little grooves. Very hard.
Just blow the ink once and then after
Nah,
that.
nah. Sometimes they go for like 10 times. Some guys are like chopped up. They're like fully tanked.
Some calamari are the worst for it though.
They do one big one though. Yeah.
When they do, they go
Yeah,
big.
they go hard, yeah, I know. They're very good at aiming at you and your boat. If your boat's white, won't be white for long. But if you've got a wet towel there, it'll eliminate most of it. You have to just, what I do, and as I said before, there's no hurry to do that first lift with your squid jig rod. So what I'll do is, as soon as I get one that's squirting ink on the boat, whatever it may be, I'll wipe it down. I have two towels, one's semi-dry, one's wet. Clean up the wet one first, then I dry it down. After I throw my squid jig back out, that is before I do that. So squid jig out, get the squid off, throw that squid jig out, clean it. By the time I've done that, then I got to lift my rod. Sometimes they're on there again. So don't be too hesitant to get your rod back out there and start whining again. I'll talk about it a bit later.
Technique for getting the squid out of the water.
Yeah, so arrows, as I said, unless it's on the one tentacle, like one candle, candle's what they're called, then I'd net it. But otherwise, just lift them in, jet, straight into the boat. Yep.
Can you direct that spray somewhere, some technique?
To your mate? No, to Stewie? No, not really. You can't. They twist around. They spin. So I don't know if you've ever seen, when you start catching squid, you understand, they've got like their last thrust of life. It's like a jet propulsion mid-air spin. It's like their tentacles actually spread out because they're spinning that fast. Has anyone seen that before? They spin. And it's amazing. It's only air-based because they're spurting out air plus a bit of ink at the end. And they spin, and that can go anywhere. That's what I'm getting at. It's a 360 spin. That's when you get your wife or your mate or something. Not intentionally, but they do. So, mate, if you wanted to, if you got a bait tank, they make the bait tank quite dirty too, by the way. But that's a good sure thing, is to drop them straight into the bait tank and close the lid.
Problem is, if they're in water and they're alive, they're going to keep making ink as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of picking them up in a net.
And it's scary to grab out of the bait tank by hand.
But you can pick them up in a normal net and give it a shake when it's in the water.
Yeah.
The link in the water then.
Yeah.
Especially the calamari ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give it a good shake.
So net them and then hold it in the water and let them spurt. Just hold them actually just out of the water a bit.
Yeah.
And let them spurt, and then grab them. When you grab a squid, to get the squid jig out, grab it behind the head.
Yeah.
Because they've got the beak. So
Yeah,
grab them
they'll
behind
bite.
the head, and they don't stick to you or anything. They don't do anything. Not like an octopus. Yeah, not scary. Yep.
So a bucket doesn't solve the problem of the net.
Oh, it does. It's actually pretty good. Buckets are right. Deep buckets, those 20-litre ones, they're really good. Put a little bit of water in the bottom if you want. But you should prong the squid, either with some sort of stool, even a screwdriver works. We've got special tools. I'll pass a couple of these around, but you prong it behind the head, but between the eyes sort of thing, behind the head, and I'll just go instant white.
Don't do the old karate.
Yeah, so
Karate chop it.
you've all seen the karate chop on YouTube, wherever it may be. It does work. It does work. Yeah. But when you're doing it, make sure your mate that you hate stand in front of it, because sometimes I'll do a last spurt.
Make sure you
Yeah.
don't hit it too hard, otherwise the head will come flying out.
No, I haven't done that. But they are, it doesn't matter, like the squid, I'll talk about eating part last, but they are really nice to eat. So you're going to kill it anyhow. So just do what you want to do. But they are, it's a bit like brain spiking a fish. It's just that nicer texture, nicer, yeah. Yep. Okay, any questions on arrow squid? Guys, they're all ready to roll. Yes,
Just
please.
one quick one.
Yes, go for it.
You mentioned green light, blue light at
Yes.
the start of the seminar.
Uh,
What about a white light?
Yeah, so all light works. All light, red light will probably work. And as long as it's a light and it starts attracting bait, they'll start coming around. And if you add anchor, so what I do with my light, I have dropped it over the side and dropped it down like 2 meters. So it's down quite deep, and I see them swimming around the light. But now I put a big crab pot float, like a 150 ml float, and toss it a bit away from the boat, maybe 1.5 meters, 2 meters from the boat. So it's either at anchor, it's sitting there, or if I'm drifting, it's drifting with me. And and it just seems to work a bit better for me. And
So what about underwater lights on boats?
yeah, really good too. So really, really
So
good.
if you sit
But
like-
you're at anchor normally.
Yeah, Morton area.
Yep.
Do you like go hit those underwater lights at night for time?
I've done that at crab on the front of Kurrajee. A couple of big boats more there at times. You sort of, if I go out, quite often I go out at 10, 11 at night. It's just to get that tide. And the first thing I do is go straight for the blue lights and have a cast, and try and get a calamari squid more than an arrow squid.
What about like, because obviously you say hey to those boats at wave break.
Yep.
There's always heaps of yakkers around it. Is
Yeah,
there-
that's right.
Is there squid underneath the
Yep.
yakkers?
There is. Yep. Yeah, I didn't mention it, but I've caught squid all the way down to here, where the 6 knot sign is, from here in that edge deep water channel, pretty close to the sand.
Can you catch tiger squid just out of rocks?
Yeah, you do. So I'm going to do that right now. Yeah, you can. Yeah, definitely. Mate. So any questions on that at all? The only thing I can't tell you guys, I haven't tried it, is if there's squid in the Tweed River, for those guys from down south. Look, they should be there. Is that who's from Tweed area, sorry? I won't talk about them. Good. Okay. Sorry, normally there's people from New South Wales here, but that's good. But look, for those that, if you are in that area, I'd reckon I'd go from the Jack Evans old porpoise pool all the way down to probably the hospital along the edge of the channel there. That's what I'll sit, similar to the Broadwater scenario.
With
Yep.
the light,
Mm.
what I've used before is, the old break and shake siren sticks about 6
Yep,
inches long, and
yep.
they last for hours.
Yeah, they will last for hours. And if you threw that under a couple of those under a float, that'd definitely work as well.
Oh, I've got to stick to hang them
Off the side of the boat? Yeah, okay.
Depth,
Yep.
so I get them illuminated.
Yeah, they're pretty bright, aren't they, mate? Yeah, that's right. 6-inch ones, the big
Have
ones.
you tried the bait rig for squid? Like
Bait
just
rig.
with like a silver, like a whiting or something like that.
Yeah, so look, I'll pass this around too while you're doing that. Talk about, you can get squid jigs now that actually you fill it a pilchard, and it's got wire wrapped around it. You unwrap the wire, you fill it a pilchard, you put the fillet on top of the squid jig, wrap it back around, the wire back around it, and either cast and use it like a normal squid jig, or let it sit out under a float, whatever it may be. And it's very popular in Asia. And it's starting to a little bit happen here, but not yet. But it does work, yeah, 100%.
I was gonna say more.
And
like
live
the
bait's
one-
really good too.
I was gonna say more like the one that you put the actual
On the
like,
spike?
Yeah, the spike.
Yeah, it
on.
works fine too.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
we use them heaps down
But
south.
squid jigs work better though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because obviously you get a lot of like pickers
Uh,
picking that bait off.
Got one there. So that's a little one. I've got bigger ones. That's a small one though. But you'll see what I mean. So cut the fillet to suit the top. Put it on there. I put on a bit of sushi rice, and then wrap the wire around and throw it back out again. But one thing I didn't tell you about the arrow squid, and it'll be the same on the calamari squid, is particularly Stewie and I, we love using scent on our squid jigs. Okay, has anyone tried scent on their squid jigs yet? It's a game changer. It's a bit like flathead fishing. If you haven't got it on, you want to go home and get some if you left it at home. It's really, really good. So S Factor's really good. Bait Pop's really good. I haven't tried the Berkeley one, but I think the Gulp will be just as good as well. And the secret is you only put it down near the tail and where the prongs are. You want them to go for that section.
Do you use that spray one? Because
Yeah.
down south we use that all the time when we're chasing calamari. Yeah, that one, yeah.
Yeah. So this stuff's like tuna, smells like tuna when you spray it. Spray the squid jig over it. Trouble is it does get in the boat every when my boat stinks a bit. And this one here is really messy because it's like the old glow bait. It's sort of browny colour, but it goes greeny colour, if that makes sense. That's the glow one, Glow Max. I'll pass those around. They're quite expensive, but they'll last you a whole season. You won't run out. They're sort of like $30 a pop, your price. But they're good.
What colour jigs are you using for your day?
For arrow? Yeah, that's a real good question. So, look, I like to use, our objective is to try, we're going to try everything. So it'll be black, Stu loves black, purple. I like pinks, I like oranges, I love reds, red foil, I'm talking about not red colour, but red foil. And gold's really good, gold foil's really good. Again, it's the watercolour and on the day. So as I was saying before, you'll keep one little squid jig, a couple of 2.5s, different colours, a couple of 3s, different colours, and maybe one 3.5 because that's what's going to be dragging anyhow. If you're fishing in dirty water or nighttime or even just something different, you've got a couple of black ones in your bags, I think. These things actually, the whole thing glows. It's black, but it glows, believe it or not. So put the torch on it, and hold it in your hand, and the whole thing's glowing. So they're really good. The red foil, I'll pass a couple of these around. That's red foil. These are ones that we just got in. They're the biggest, one of the biggest selling squid jigs in Japan. They're called Squid Mania. Okay, Squid Mania is massive over there, and so they do some really cool colours. They're not cheap though. They're like $30 or $28 a pop, but they're really good. Shimano and Daiwa do a great range of squid jigs. The flash boost style in the Shimano we sell lots of, and the clinch we sell a lot of too. They've got flash boost, plus not these ones. They've got a rattle as well in some of them. I'll pass those around too. And we sell everything, guys. Oh, there's that one there. That's one I was saying about earlier that you drag long and the other one sits up above it. Okay. Got a heavy one and a light one on it. Emeraldus, that's one of Daiwa's famous ones that they sell. They just brought out a new one, which is the wobbly head one. Have you seen that advertised yet, Emeraldus? So we have that here, armorous joint it's called. Fairly big overseas, and they're obviously going to be big here. We sold a lot of them at the start, and they came out about 2 or 3 weeks ago, around about. Great colours, and the idea is when it's being wound in, it has a lot of action. Where normally squid jig doesn't have any swim action, it's just through the water, right? And if you lift it up, it does swim down on an angle. Getting back to what we said before about the putting the scent on, don't put it near the feathers at all. Stu's a crazy one for this. Don't put it on the feathers because they'll stick to the side and it's not as natural because all these are emulating a prawn. That's what they're emulating, sorry. So you want those little feathers to be out to the side and moving around a bit. So yeah, that's the armour joint. I'll just do the mainly smaller ones. They do bigger ones too in that joint as well. And then you got squid jigs with legs on them. Have you seen the squid jigs with like the legs underneath? So we have some downstairs too that also have like silicone legs as well. And if you jump onto, I think it's Hayabusa, not Hayabusa, Yozuri.
Yozuri. It's a Yozuri.
Yozuri website and have a look at it in the tank. You just want to eat it. If you're a squid, you'd be pushing your mate out of the way. So these legs are very natural. It's like a prawn standing on the bottom and walking sort of thing. But traditionally, the squid jigs, the jewel with the legs on it, they're really good as well. Very prawn style again.
Are you a firm believer in glow squid jigs at night, or do you not really?
Look, I do like to use glow at night, and I always charge them up with my. That's what those black. You got black ones there for night time. Most of the time we're squidding at night a lot of the time. Just one thing I will tell you about arrow versus calamari squid. So calamari squid you catch a lot more at night time than you will daytime, particularly around lights and bridges. And if you're land based, it's the easiest one to catch. Arrow squid at night time. Look, I've gone where I catch 30 in an hour during the day. I go at night time with the light and everything, and I might get 6. They don't squid as good at night as they do during the day. So arrow squid, if you want to get good catches, go daytime. Okay, that's the way it is. High tide. So yeah. And the other one type I wanted to tell you about was I was telling you before about the weight of the squid jig, slow sinking. Sometimes they want a slow sinking one. Other times the current's too fast, and you need a fast sinking one to get down the bottom. So there's different weights, and some of them you can adjust the weight. You can unscrew the bottom out and the weight slide off, and whatever. It's all different types. There's other ones that have blades that spin underneath them, so they flap around when you wind them in. It's just endless, guys. Squid jigs, too many. To me, they nearly all work. Okay, pretty well 90% of squid jigs will catch squid, not the fishermen. They look pretty. They'll catch the fishermen too, but they catch squid. That's another really good brand too, and very popular. Price of those is really good. So you can also buy like heavy squid jigs, which you can use as a sinker. Like I said, like the 2 you got in the set, that's like it's bottom buddy that drags on the bottom, and which catches squid as well.
Do you use a UV light to charge your squid jigs, or do you just use a phone?
UV light always is the best, yeah.
Just
So-
to last longer?
It'll last longer and quicker.
Yeah.
So it's like off. If you use your phone all the time, it's painful. You get crap all over your phone as well. You know, you can get clip-ons. So a lot of squid jigs will actually have some of them have a little hole in the bottom of the lead keel. But most of the guys will put this onto the front where you tie a line to. And it's like a clip-on weight that goes under the squid jig. You'll see it actually, the picture there where you put it. You can get that sort of thing as well. And that's about as small. I think you guys got a little one in your bag in here, but that's about as small as I get. Sometimes, guys, if the bait, I don't think I meant to say too before, if you've got bait around you and bait in the deeper water, you'll get squid in that area more than you will just drifting out in the paddock. They feed on the bait, obviously. Be like anything. And that bait's small, like little white bait or whatever it may be, drop your squid jig down straight away to suit. Small. Okay. Get more on that, you can build the big ones. You've got that in your bag. Any questions on that so far? Okay. Okay, we're going to go to the biggest squid. So the biggest squid, look, as I said before, they're less in the Broadwater but more in Moreton Bay. So if you're in the Broadwater, the spots to try if you've got a boat are anywhere along the rock walls, so Seaway Wall, north and south wall, caught them on both sides. I've caught them at the end of the wall when there's been a west end, it's only like half a metre swell. I've caught them on the inside, ocean side of the inside of the walls on the beach side, There's been no swell, and I can get in there. And so the whole seaway wall, north and south wall of Wavebreak Island, caught them at the front, the side, the north side, the south side, inside. So that there's somewhere along those walls, you've got to find them, okay? Sometimes there'll be just two together sitting there and you'll pluck them both off. I've caught them at the back of Wavebreak, so getting before, like Perry said about boats, there's a few houseboats in those little deeper pockets in the back of Wavebreak. You can get there in a high tide and cast around them and don't hit their houseboats. But you'll get squid there as well, big calamari squid. Other spots to try would be around the Grand, but land-based actually works better there at night time than boats. Okay. Other spots to try too off the jetty at Southport. The Southport Pier, catch, as I said, arrow squid during the day, casting out as far as you can to the channel, but night time squid around underneath the jetty or on the side where the lights are, or just out beyond where the light fringe is. So that's the jetty at, if you want to go for land-based squid, that's good. Otherwise, go for a walk along daytime, say from Aqua building around to Charis, and see where the black stains are on the wall, on the path. Giveaway. And there's more in one area, that's where you go that night, okay? Yeah. So, or there's been someone good there. Might be used to it.
Maybe.
As I said before, we used to love walking the seaway wall. So again, if we can get that high tide this time of the year, 6 in the morning, right on the crack of daylight, we generally start around where the wall ends, which is near where that new toilet block is on the spit there, and work our way around, all the way around to, and we're not doing right around to the tower, pretty well the tower. And once the tide starts running out, so it takes you about 2 hours to do that if you do a cast sort of every couple of metres. And then you'll get half a dozen good squid at that time if you get that tide around that 6 or 7 a.m. And then once it starts running after 2 hours, I find they go off the shallow, because sometimes they're right in on the rocks, right in the shallow rocks where it's only a metre deep. There's a big calamari squid. And then they'll go over the edge of the rocks and go down deep. So you've got to do a long cast over the rocks, leave your bar arm open, let it sink to the bottom out in the deep water. And you go to lift them up, wind it up, next to it, they're on there pulling. Okay? It always feels like you got snagged. You go, oh, shit, I'm snagged. All of a sudden it starts going like this, and it's a big squid. That's how it feels. Any questions on that at all?
Where's that area, sorry?
The seaway spit on the south wall. So from where where it's in the Broadwater, you're facing back towards the Grand Hotel, looking west, all the way around to the Seaway Tower.
If you're on the boat, are you sticking close to the rocks?
Yeah, 100%, mate. You got to keep moving in and out. If you've got electric, it's really good because you can just sort of keep it at the same speed as the tide sort of thing, or just against the tide a bit. Keeping it in the right distance off the rocks sort of thing, if that makes sense. If you can sort of do, like, I don't do it much, but if you can lock in the drift first and then go back up and then do it with the motor, then it'll just go its own way and keep you at that distance out all the time. So I'm sitting about probably, if it's high tide, I'm very close to the ledge and casting back into the rocks. They get caught up in the rocks sometimes. And they're right up in the shallows, particularly right on the crack of daylight. But as soon as it starts to get daylight and the tide starts to drop, I'll position the boat out about probably 10 or 15 metres off the edge of the drop-off and cast back into the shallow. But by the time it sort of sinks down, it's on the edge of that drop-off. Yeah. And sometimes I've smashed them. Where give one of my good secrets again, but where the pipe goes across the seaway, and there's where the stairs are there, where the divers go in, there's always a little bit of a back eddy there, and they sit in there. So you're halfway between the seaway tower and the steps, about halfway along there, and they're right in close on the edge, back eddy there, yeah. And then there's another one down about where that new gazebo thing is, halfway down the wall, when you're walking out to the end of the spit wall. That gazebo thing there, the rocks sort of go like that, then they come in a bit like this, in that area there as well. They sit there as well. And on the run-in tide, between the the red beacon and the swim platform on the west side, halfway between there, again the rock wall comes along, then it sort of comes in a bit tight. On there's the eddy and the run-in tide, they sit there as well. That's all my good spots.
Where's that on the map you're talking about?
On the map, that is, on the map, on this side here. Oh, sorry. Yep, good question. From about here around to about there, and then there's another spot right there. Yeah. And off here. Yeah, there. And over here at the Grand, which is what that is there. Anyhow, that's the Grand there, sort of thing. Where the boat ramp is, there's a pontoon here, and the rock wall goes on there to about Aqua Building, sort of here. And anywhere along this here, that's Charis Seafoods, sort of just here, if that makes sense. Charis Seafoods there. So between that boat ramp pontoon and that tall Aqua Building off the wall there is really good at night time. There's a drain comes out on the southern side of the Aqua Building. I pulled like 5 there one night. They were monsters. So I was sitting right in front of the drain there.
Has to have a habitat. So those
Has to have a habitat, that's correct.
see the side of Crab Island there are really only for the arrow.
If you're
Yeah.
land-based,
No, wood-based.
oh,
No,
water-based.
like in the deep, it's for the arrow stuff. You get them on the
Yeah.
edges and like around the islands at high tide and stuff like that in the mangroves, but
That's the,
the channel
calamari
stuff,
squid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Calamari
channel
squid.
stuff's just arrow only,
Yeah.
generally.
Yeah. But you'll get the calamari across here, but it's more of a halfway down thing tide than a high tide. They're too spaced out at high tide. But when the tide starts dropping, look for those eddies. That's what they'll be. Yeah. And it can be quite shallow for arrow squid. Oh, not for calamari squid. Arrow squid don't like shallow. I think I've ever caught them under 2 metres or 3 metres deep. Yeah. Okay, so get back to the calamari one. So Moreton Bay, though, if you've got Moreton Bay, that's definitely the spot. So Green Island, Peel Island, the banks in front of Peel Island, Myra near Dunwich. Over at the southern end of Days Gutter there on Moreton, I caught my biggest squid ever, nearly spooled me. I'm serious. Was at Bulwar Rex, which is past the Rex at Tangalooma, just on the wreck there on the beach, right in the shallow on the beach. The other thing was like 3 kilos, massive head, big head. It took about 60 metres of braid off me. I thought I'd tuna on. Anyhow, the big squid. We get them offshore here too. Stu got one the other day, and how deep were you, Stu?
86 metres.
86 metres.
50 fathoms.
Got a monster one, like the
Yeah.
hood was about that long. And it took a jig, as in jigging jig. So and I've caught heaps out on the sort of 18s and 24s float line for snapper. Just accidentally hooked them. I always want to put a squid jig out, but it gets in the way of my float lining, so I don't do it. But it'll probably work though. I should just put a paternoster style 3 squid jigs hang off it. Might try that. But yeah, so calamari squid, wave break, the walls, the seaway wall. Look, there's a couple of other spots. I have caught them at the trawlers on the back. They don't like you fishing there at night time, but I have caught them at the jetties at the trawlers there. I have caught them at the back of SeaWorld. They don't like you fishing there at night time. The security guard doesn't like it. But I get right in amongst the SeaWorld boat and whatever and cast around the jetties there. And I caught some big ones and had some sessions of 15 or so. And the SeaWorld Nara Resort jetty, there's a lot of ropes and stuff there. It's a bit annoying. But I've had some big sessions there too, out of the boat and casting up underneath the jetty and stuff like that. Little size 2.5s, light, slow sinking. They just pounce it.
Doesn't matter about tide.
Yeah, high tide preferably, first to run out. It just seems to be the magic tide for squid. High tide first to run out, up to about 2 hours to run out. I always say bite time's 2 hours after high tide, but for them, the water's starting to get dirty then, so it doesn't work that way. Yeah. Does that all make sense? Okay. Any questions on the calamari ones at all? Okay, I don't know where they go when the tide gets low. They just don't. They're probably there. They just don't bite. And if you see one when you're casting for flatties, we always have a squid jig in the boat rigged up straight away because you're going to get it's suicidal. So if you see a big one following your squid jig, your soft plastic in when you're flatty fishing, straight away just drop it down and throw it straight where you saw it, and it'll be straight on. Can't miss. Yeah. Okay, few tools of the trade. There's a few tools. When you're squidding, and not so much from the squid themselves, but you get caught in the bottom a lot and it bends the little prongs out. So you can get little tools that you just stick out the thing and pull it back because it's very hard to push it back. If you do it with your fingers, you always stab yourself. I try to push my fingers, but it doesn't work very good. You saw the little thing go around that stabs it in the back of the head. This is actually a tool that's got cutters and it's got actually a little bender for bending the hooks back and that sort of crap. That's a little a proper one. How do you hold your squid jigs? Look, just a normal box like that is fine. That'll work all right. But you can get squid pouches and all that sort of stuff. They're endless. The big thing is, because your rods are so soft, and you all know, you try and put them in the boat and you try and pull it down tight, but squid jigs have a really bad habit of popping off wherever they're on, and then they get all wrapped around each other, or they get wrapped and stuck in the carpet or your leg or whatever it might be. We finally found this thing here, which also works for other things too, but they're really good for squid jigs. You just put on like a zip tie around the bottom of your rod, which I've got on my rod right here. So I use that for my jigs now as well. There's one there. Thanks, Judy. So put pink on so no one steals your rods. But it sits on your rod like that, and it's got this big wide gap here which about 3 prongs dig into, and it never comes out, ever. Okay. So just wrap those on your rods. They do come in black if you don't put a pink one on. I'll show you those. But great little thing. That's been invented for lures. They're good for hard bodies. They're good for soft plastics. It works. As I said before, fluorocarbon, 8, 10 and 12 pound for your leader or your little off your 3-way swivel. Cleaning the squid. Has anyone ever used a scaler bag for squid yet? Has anyone own? Yeah, you know how good they are. Has anyone owned a? They're good for whiting and garfish. So how it works, this is just like a base model. You can get proper tumble bags, which you've got downstairs. But you put the squid in there, put a big float on it, like not a big float, but probably a ball float about that big, just up in front of it on the rope. So in case it does come off, at least you've got it sitting in the water, you don't lose all your squid. Because it gets quite a bit of weight on it when you've got like 20 squid chopped at the back of your bag. Oops, this one's easier. So this is a Wilson one. So it's just a bag like so, okay? So on the top here, I'd actually tie that off, put a big float on the top of it, tie it off there so you can still open it up and get them out, okay? So you can still get that much open and drop them into a bucket, whatever. But put that on there like that, tie a float on here, so put a float on up the top here, around this area here. And then on the end of your line, have like about 8mm rope and maybe about 10 metres of it or 15 metres of it with a shark clip on it and clip onto that part of it there. Put all your squid in there and then throw it at the back of the boat and make sure you're using a ball float, not a square float. And you just get up on the plane. Don't go stupid fast, but you're up on the plane, you're doing probably 16 knots or whatever it may be. And this thing's just bouncing between your waves and rolling around, whatever. And then you pull it in and the squid, all the ink's gone, even the skin's gone. It's just the bodies. And the eyes are gone even sometimes. But you will lose a few tentacles. But it cleans the squid for you. Do you know how hard it is to clean squid? It's black, messy in the kitchen, not good. Wives don't like it. Although my wife likes the clean squid. But yeah, scaler bags are really, really good. And we've got proper ones. They call them tumble bags, I think, or something like that.
You've got to get them right on that wave.
Yeah, you've got to get on the wave. You can keep your line exactly right. Drop the 8mm rope back till it's at that where it's right. It's on the face of the wave, like surfing the face of the wave, but rolling around on it. Make sense? Really good for garfish and whiting. If you want to scale your fish, it takes all the scales off and cleans the guts out, whatever. Anyhow, that's that. And I think that's about all the tools I want to tell you about. The last thing is octopus. I talked about octopus. So these look like a squid jig, but they're an octopus jig. And we have a lot of octopuses in the broadwater, but no one targets them except for the Asians and Croatians and who like squid, Greek people, and they do really well there too. So the octopus live around all of the seaway walls. They're out in the middle of Broadway. I get in my crab pots all the time. But to catch octopus, it's the same technique as squidding. You just cast to the edge of the rocks, preferably the edge where it drops off, and let it sink down, and they'll just grab it. You've got prongs on the back, but they're facing up, so they don't get caught in the rocks as bad, because they're around more in the rocks or edge of the rocks. And you just drift and cast or drift and cast. The hardest part when you get an octopus is containing it, because they can probably get out through that hole, and it's about the size of this, and somehow it gets out through that little hole. But you really need a fly mesh bag to keep them in or something. They're quite clever. But bucket the lid probably work. I don't think they can get out through
Make sure you stomp the lid on so they can't get out.
Yeah, that's right. But that's what you get octopus. The other way too, technique, you get that thing going around that you can hook your squid jig into, but you can get these things here that also work really well. They're a little tube that goes over the hooks at the back part. It's got like a little hook on the front. You just hook it onto your guide, and it hangs down off your guide. They work really well as well. They come in different sizes. I think that's about what I can tell you about that. Is there any questions at all, folks?
Can you catch an octopus on a squid jig?
You can. Look, I think I've done it once only, but I don't know why they don't work as good as those things. Yeah, they're similar, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're similar. Yeah.
What about eating this?
Well, octopus?
No, they're going to be the squid.
So the cooking. I can tell you some good recipes. You want to know some recipes? That's good. Besides the old calamari way.
No, which one's about eating that?
Oh, which is better eating?
Yeah.
Look, they're all sweet. They're all yummy.
Oh, okay.
They're all yummy. Look, if you want to fry your squid, and if you don't need to put milk and cucumber and kiwi fruit, that sort of stuff. It might make it a little bit softer, but it's irrelevant really if you do it right. The secret is not to cook it too long. If you were to deep fry squid, you wouldn't have it in there more than 1 minute and 20 seconds. It's like so quick. As soon as that outside or your breadcrumbs start to go brown or golden, it's out of there, really quick. We tend to do a lot more stir fry type with ours. Yeah, or make salad out of it or whatever. Yeah, it's really good.
Have you ever tried ceviche squid?
Yeah, very nice. We actually eat it raw as well. It's really nice. Yeah, on rice or whatever it may be. Yeah, really, really good.
So you think the best time for squidding is like high tide and then the run?
Yeah, correct, mate. 100%. Yeah, got to be clear water.
Yeah, and arrows in the day and
Yeah,
calamari.
at night time preferably. Yeah, that's correct. But you will get calamari during the day when you're like flatty fish or whatever, you'll see them. But have that squid jig rod ready because you're not intentionally fishing for squid at that time normally. Although if you want to go up Moreton Bay, you catch them all day long. Yeah, just down here they're not as prolific. Oh, well, it's shore-based, aren't you? Yeah, so night time, 100%, mate. Yeah, so yeah, I have caught arrows, and I caught 2 arrows from the shore fishing for calamari squid off the grand edge there. That's the only time I've ever caught arrow squid at night, offshore base. Yeah, yeah.
What fish chase the squid?
What? Everything.
Everything.
Yeah, everything. So, from sailfish to bream, everything. So, if you want to sacrifice, say you get heaps of squid or get little ones, get little ones too, by the way. Remember, they grow really quick. So what you call, they're like prawns. Prawns grow, what's the life of prawn?
Grows about 15 mil a week once it's washed out into
Squid's
salty
similar.
water. Yeah.
Squid's very fast. So what you were catching, Well, they're a bit mixed at the moment. You'll get one that big, the next one will be this big, in the body. But while you're catching that week consistently that size, 10 days later you get a chance to go out again, they'll be that size. They grow quick. Yeah, so, but what are they feeding? What's feeding them? If you were to go out and get some, those smaller ones, and maybe hit the seaway, you'll get dewies, you'll get flatties. The brim will annoy you, unfortunately. I'm talking live. Has anyone ever used live squid for bait yet?
Juries absolutely love live
Yeah, they
squid.
do. They love them,
Love them.
and you can put 2 hooks in. You can put one up just behind the head in the hood part, and one at the toughest part's right at the back of them. So
I normally run 2 6-0s. I go one through the very top of the hood.
Yep.
And then one through just before the head.
Yep, that's right.
Real
That's
softly in,
yep, spot on.
straight down at the bottom.
So I was at a place called Rompton, which Stewie's going to in September when he's supposed to fish in the photo class with me, but that's all right. Well, actually, he wasn't going to fish with me because he dumped me, but but the squid is squid for both for sailfish. I think I caught 24 sailfish in 2 days on squid. Squid was just amazing. So if this is the body of the squid, and his head's sort of here, and it's got the little sort of flap thing that comes out on the side here. This part right here is the hardest part to put a hook in, and you only need a circle hook in right there, anywhere from there to there actually, in the middle. That's the best place to hook it, with a circle hook, and you use don't use too big a hook. Like if you've got a squid that size in the body, I've used only about a 6/0 circle hook. Small, strong one. And hook it right there, and you hook up some rates 100%. One. But as Perry said, if you want to put a second one in, put it in around about here.
Guys love them down south in Sydney off the wharves.
Oh, do they?
Down south.
Yeah, right. Oh, Kingies, yeah. Everything loves them.
Nuts.
Everything loves them. So, but I love eating them too. So the fish don't normally get a chance. I'll put a pilchard on or something. Yeah.
They'll do the same thing.
Yeah, that's true. Any other questions at all, folks?
Well, if all the squid are down there where we talked about, why aren't the dewies in it down
That's a really good question.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's middle of the day,
Yeah.
and the structure maybe, but the water's generally clear, so they'll be hiding somewhere, I think, from dolphins and sharks, whatever it may be.
You get flattered and stuff while you're squidding.
You get, of course, that's good. Flathead, flounder, and brim's probably the 3 popular things, and pike. 3 popular things I catch on squid jigs, of all popular things. Yeah. But remember, if you put any of this scent on, just right down at the back part near the prongs, in that last 2 centimetres of the body, and on the prongs. And the prongs is fine. You'll get a lot of squid hits in the middle of your squid jig. They tend to want to lash out a lot in the middle part. There was some squid jigs that come out a few years ago with prongs on the back part there. Because of that, they tried to nail it on that one. It worked really well too, by the way. But they went off the market for some reason. But yeah, so you don't want this anywhere from where the hump sort of goes down, where it goes down from there to the back. But anywhere forward of there, just keep it away from there, because you won't hook up as good. But after the scent. The smell must be amazing. Their eyesight and smell of a squid is incredible, I believe. Yeah. Okay. Anything else for that?
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
I just love squid fishing. I just love eating them. Probably
there?
more than
What
that.
you were saying, Brucey, is like a lure. They get it when the lure's going back, when the jig's going back.
Yeah, so they like that you'll get more on the free fall, or when you're drifting and there might be a wave and it drops just for a sec, I'll grab it, which is what happens on those ones in the rod holder, right? More than you will whining, but you still get them on the whine, slow whining. Don't ever whine fast, slow whining. Yeah.
I've had them chase it when you're whining fast.
Yeah,
They get very aggressive.
Yeah. Depends on the day, yeah. But most of it's on the slow sink.
How deep are you fishing when you're using the snapper?
40 metres, in close sort of thing, yeah. But Stu was at 100 metres, 80, 90 metres. We caught one. I caught one deep dropping in 280 meters. A big arrow, huge one. Yeah. They're everywhere. My dream is to catch one of those big red Humboldt squid. Stewie's too, by the way. They're out here, I think, out in the abyss. But in certain parts of the world, they're everywhere. They're those real aggressive ones. Has anyone ever caught a big cuttlefish yet? Yeah. Yep. Did it ink you?
No, actually.
No, very lucky.
Fight hard.
I got
They
heaps
fight
of
hard. They got heaps of ink.
Heaps
So
of ink, yeah.
oh, I've caught quite a few. They're big orange ones. We catch them out offshore in 36 or 50 fathoms on a gang hook, or maybe just by accident. But they're about 10 kilos or 8 kilos in size. They're huge. And when they unload their ink, it'll do probably about half the boat. I'm serious. Like, if your mate gets done, like my mate, like you, mate, had big beard and his hair was like this, so, and he went to gaff it, and it got him badly, and he was like, his face was just black, and I couldn't even see his hair. It was just like moulded to his face, and he was spewing because he went down his throat. Because I said don't, he said what? So it's pretty bad. Yeah.
Go from grey hair to black hair.
Yeah, he did. Tony's his name. He got done bad. But anyhow, so guys, that's about it. I hope you go catch some. But this weekend's perfect. Afternoon squidding, or evening. So next week, when the high tide gets right, 7, 8, 9, you guys on the shore base definitely. That's when you got to hit it. Okay. And if you're going to hit more early morning, but obviously, if it's 3 or 4 o'clock on Saturday, Sunday high, I think.
Yeah, in the Arvo.
Yeah, so on probably Tuesday, Wednesday morning, you get that 6 o'clock high. That's when you hit the wall. You give it a crack. And then also at night time, as the tide gets later, 7, 8, 9 at night, off the Grand, or it might be, off the jetties. Okay.
Is there another name for arrow squid?
That's a good call. No, they've got red arrow squid's the other name I know at the moment. Yeah, red arrow squid. But they all taste really good. Yeah. But don't cook them too long. That's the secret. If you're going to cook them like just in butter, a bit of pepper, whatever, a bit of garlic powder of them, and just if you're going to do it in a fry pan, make sure it's quite hot before you throw it. It'll be like doing prawns. So fairly hot and just like out. Just stir them up a little bit and take it out, and it's cooked. Because you eat it raw, so it's fine as it's after all. Yeah, it's good. Very sweet. Okay, so that's about it. I hope you guys learn a bit from that. So tonight we've got 9 prizes, because quite a few of you here, about just over $1,500 worth. And we're going to do the draw right about now, Stu, mate. Yeah, Tama. Oh, yeah, please. Once Stu gets the little numbers. So our next seminar, guys, is on deep dropping, because we did a deep drop one about a month ago, and we were so booked out, and a lot of people couldn't get there, so we're doing that. I think Stu's just gone downstairs to get it, actually. That's all right, though. He'll come back up. It is the exercise. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Not. Anyway, we're doing a deep drop it again, so we've already got half filled up already without even advertising it. But that'll be the last deep drop one we'll do for the year. Thanks, so. Is that turned off, Dan? Not yet. Thank you. Cheers. So, we've got a rod and a lot of jigs in this one. This is the first prize, we've got $500.